On a foggy autumn night, a group of friends embarked on a road trip along the rocky coastline of Blackwater Bay. Jess, the curious one, insisted they stop by the cliffs, claiming to have seen an eerie glow in the distance. When they reached the edge, they spotted a faint light flickering from a lighthouse that wasn't marked on their maps. Ethan, the skeptic, laughed and suggested it was just a local legend or prank. Nora, who loved ghost stories, said, "What if it's haunted? Let's find out." Despite Ethan's protests, the group decided to venture down the treacherous path leading to the mysterious structure. The path was overgrown, with thorny bushes snagging their clothes as they pushed forward. They could hear the waves crashing violently against the cliffs below, adding to the tension. Finally, they arrived at the lighthouse, a towering structure with cracked walls and rusted railings. The light at the top seemed brighter now, pulsating like a heartbeat. As they approached, the door creaked open on its own, revealing a dimly lit interior. The air inside was damp, filled with the scent of seawater and decay. On the walls, old maps and charts were pinned, but they appeared to change as they were observed. Jess touched one of the maps, and her hand passed through it like mist. "This place isn't normal," Ethan whispered, his bravado fading quickly. A sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut, trapping them inside. Nora's flashlight flickered, and then went out, leaving them in near total darkness. "We should leave," Ethan urged, but the door wouldn't budge. Jess noticed a spiral staircase leading upwards and suggested they investigate the source of the light. Reluctantly, they ascended, each step echoing ominously. Halfway up, they heard faint whispers calling their names. Nora turned pale as she realized the whispers were voices of their loved ones. "This isn't real," Ethan muttered, trying to block out the sound. The whispers grew louder, overlapping and filling the staircase with an eerie cacophony. At the top, they reached the light room, where the source of the glow was revealed. A massive, rotating crystal sat in the center, emitting beams of light that seemed alive. Jess stepped closer, mesmerized by the shifting patterns within the crystal. "Don't touch it," Nora shouted, but it was too late. Jess's hand grazed the crystal, and the room transformed into a swirling vortex of colors. The friends found themselves on a deserted beach, the lighthouse now a distant shadow. Confused and disoriented, they explored the beach, which seemed to stretch infinitely. The sand was warm and shimmered as if made of crushed diamonds. "This place? It's not Earth," Ethan said, his voice trembling. Strange creatures, resembling glowing jellyfish, floated in the sky. Nora found a shell that emitted music when she held it to her ear. Jess spotted a figure in the distance, beckoning them to follow. The figure was cloaked, its face obscured, and it moved without leaving footprints. Against their better judgment, the friends followed the figure into a dense forest of glowing trees. The trees pulsed with light, and their leaves whispered secrets in an ancient language. "This is like a dream," Jess said, but the fear in her voice was evident. In the heart of the forest, they came upon a clearing with a stone altar. The cloaked figure turned to face them, revealing a face that was a mirror of Jess's. "Who are you?" Jess demanded, her voice echoing unnaturally. "I am what you will become," the figure replied cryptically. The crystal from the lighthouse was now floating above the altar, pulsating with energy. "Touch it again, and you'll understand," the figure said, extending its hand. Jess hesitated, but Ethan grabbed her arm. "We're not doing this," he shouted, pulling her back. The ground trembled, and the forest began to dissolve into mist. The cloaked figure laughed, its voice blending with the wind. The friends found themselves back in the lighthouse, as if no time had passed. The crystal was gone, replaced by an old, dusty lantern. Was it all a hallucination? Nora wondered aloud. Ethan pointed to the sand in his shoes and said, "Does this look like a hallucination?" They descended the stairs, eager to leave the cursed place. When they reached the door, it opened easily this time, revealing the familiar cliffs. The lighthouse light was off and the structure appeared abandoned and decayed. As they walked back to their car, Jess noticed a glowing shell in her pocket. "It's from the beach," she whispered, holding it up. The shell began to hum, its glow intensifying. Suddenly, they heard the distant sound of a foghorn. Turning back, they saw the lighthouse glowing once more, its light sweeping the coastline. "No way," Ethan said, shaking his head in disbelief. A group of locals approached them, their faces pale with fear. "You went in there?" one man asked, his voice trembling. "That lighthouse hasn't been active for 50 years, another added. Jess showed them the shell, and the locals gasped. "You've been marked," an elderly woman said gravely. "Marked for what?" Nora asked, but the woman only shook her head. That night, the friends couldn't sleep, haunted by dreams of the cloaked figure. Over the next few days, strange things began happening to them. Jess started hearing whispers in the wind, calling her name. Ethan saw flashes of the glowing forest in his reflection. Nora found the music from the shell playing in her head without end. They decided to return to the lighthouse to find answers. The path was even more overgrown than before, as if nature wanted to keep them out. When they reached the lighthouse, it was locked and silent. The light at the top flickered faintly, as if mocking them. "We're not done here," Jess said, determination burning in her eyes. The crystal's pull was stronger than ever, and they knew their journey had only just begun. The friends vowed to uncover the truth about the lighthouse and its strange powers. As they walked away, the light behind them blinked, almost like a farewell. They felt a strange sense of belonging, as if they were connected to the place. The locals watched them leave, whispering tales of past visitors who never returned. Ethan joked, "Well, at least we're alive," but his laughter sounded hollow. Jess clutched the shell tightly, her mind racing with possibilities. The group promised to stick together, no matter what the future held. As they drove away, the lighthouse faded into the mist, as if it had never been there. Yet, each of them felt its presence lingering, like an unspoken promise. Their journey wasn't over, it had only just begun. Weeks later, Jess found a map hidden in the shell, pointing to another location. Ethan researched the lighthouse's history and uncovered stories of otherworldly phenomena. Nora started sketching the forest, her memories of it becoming clearer with each drawing. The friends realized they had been chosen for something far greater than themselves. "What if this is our destiny?" Jess asked, her voice filled with wonder. "Then we face it together," Ethan replied, placing a hand on her shoulder. The lighthouse had given them a gift, but it came with a price. They were no longer the same people who had entered that night. As the sun set over the horizon, the lighthouse light blinked one final time, and somewhere the cloaked figure watched, waiting for their return.